Puppets. Puppets have often formed a huge part of things that I do as a teacher in the classroom. In the past, I taught Year 2, and when teaching Year 2, it's really quite straightforward to use puppets inside the classroom. The kids absolutely love it. They often think the puppets are real, so it's really straightforward to use. However, as children get older, I hear teachers say, well, it's pointless using it because they don't see the magic anymore. And I personally don't think that is true. Yes, you have to have the conversation of like, yeah, they're not real, you know, but how do they know? You never know. It might be like, you might have those conversations, or you might just be dead straight and say, yeah, do you know what? But we can still have fun with it. The magic of puppets doesn't just stop at Key Stage 1 with the younger children. It can also carry up to as they're older too. There's so many different ways that you can use puppets inside the classroom. I often think with younger children, the children find it easier to talk to puppets than they do to me as a teacher. And I think one of the biggest things that scares teachers off when coming to use puppets is feeling like they need to become ventriloquists. I don't know about you, but I am not a ventriloquist. I've never done ventriloquism with my puppets, and I never will do. And that's because it's not something that helps, really. I think it takes away from some of the magic. These are the two puppets that you will see in my profile picture. I've used puppets religiously with content, explaining, and also making sure that I use them inside the classroom. So let me show them to you. You will, of course, notice these two puppets. This is Mr. X, and this is Sharky. And yeah, I've used them frequently in the past. If I'm explaining things to my class, I will go, right, these guys need to tell you something, and they'll whisper to me, and then I'll say what they're saying, and maybe this one will whisper to me, and things like that. With the younger children, these are really easy to use. I will get them to explain things to the class, and I'll get the children to explain any ideas and things to the puppets, and it's really easy to kind of go, oh, we're looking for good behavior, and it's really easy behavioral tool, and we can use it in many different ways. But as we get older, we're probably starting to think, can't do it so much with the older children, and that's not true. There's a few different ways that I use them with the older children. Less so when it comes to telling stories with them, more so to do with the actual learning concepts. One way that I do it is to address misconceptions. So I will often say, there's going to be a visitor coming into the class, and they often know which visitor it's going to be because obviously this is missing off the top of the board. And I'll pull one of these and I say, look, you're going to have to go and explain rounding to Mr. Rex or Sharky, and they will explain the misconceptions. And if Sharky's not quite clear on the reasoning, I'll say like, oh yeah, he's not too sure on your reasoning. And then that really encourages them to really think about what it is that they're saying. And that way it makes it really easy for children to think, right, what is it that I'm saying? Sometimes I'll get the shark to repeat back the instructions that they've given me. So that way the children are thinking to be a bit more articulate. Another way I'll get them to do this when it comes to English is to think of like the pros and cons of something. So sustainability, pros and cons. So whoever's deciding to be evil will tell me some of the pros, and then someone else will tell me some of the cons. And then it doesn't just have to stop with me. I might give this one for the pros, right? This team is going to go with the pros, and they're going to articulate some of the answers there. And then this guy is going to be some of the cons, and they can articulate it that way too. On top of that, I think one of the things that I miss out on the most, if I'm honest with you, is using these guys as class mascots. I know personally I don't use these very much when it comes to activities, although it would be fantastic to use these in activities to put pictures of like, they're making a mistake and they've got to be corrected. We often use, Tiny the turtle. But I think these would be really, really supportive because we often use them as mascots with the younger children. We'll say, oh, Sharky's looking out for good behavior. Whereas we could say something along the lines of, okay, Mr. Rex is looking for the person who's using capital letters and full stops. And even though, yes, it's me who's looking out for those things, the fact that it's something who's a mascot can really benefit the children to kind of have that kind of existential reward of like, oh, let's see who's actually used those different features. And I think that's beneficial too. Essentially, all I want to do with this video is to kind of support you with trying to be a bit braver with using different things inside the classroom. And if puppets is something that you want to use, I found great success with using them. You don't have to be amazing. You don't have to be a ventriloquist. And hopefully this can encourage you to have a go. Follow for more teacher training videos.